What's up YouTube? Capital G here, checking out the brand new Flame Noble Knights coming out of Rise of the Duelist. If you guys remember that one random OCG V-Jump promo called Flame Noble Knight Roland, which actually was an insanely good card, but it was a fire-based Noble Knight monster. I thought it was supposed to work with the new Warrior structure deck support, but turns out Konami is making Flame Noble Knights their own thing. They seem kind of like a spin-off of Noble Knights because they do feel like they're very similar to Noble Knights. They have Noble Arms cards, they can equip from the graveyard and become equipped spells, and they're Synchro based, and it does feel like Noble Knights, but everything is fire based. They're still warrior based, so you're still gonna run Isode and things like Rhoda, but feels kind of like a spin-off, maybe like a true Draco, true King type deal. Anyways, let's go ahead and check them out. First monster is Flame Noble Knight Estofo. This is a Fire Warrior monster, as all of these guys are. Level 1, 500 attack, 200 defense. Both of your effects are hard once per turn, but you can stack them in the same turn. First effect says you can banish one Fire Warrior monster from your hand or graveyard. That's a cost. Special summon this card from your hand. Then you can make this card's level become the banished monster's level. Second effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard, also a cost. During your second standby phase, after activating this effect, special summon this banished card. Then you can special summon one Fire Warrior monster that is banished or in your graveyard. So this is an interesting card. It basically is a fairly easy card to summon, and I think it's supposed to just kind of be used as synchro fodder in this archetype. Like, you don't have to commit your normal summon to get this card on the field, and then it does technically summon itself back from the graveyard for free. I mean, it's not like the fastest thing because it's going to take a couple of turns to hit the board again, but it will be able to hit the board for free, and then it can also summon one of your other banished warrior monsters or one of your other warrior monsters in the graveyard. This card feels like it takes a little while for it to pay off, but the payoff of this card feels pretty good. Graveyard effect essentially being a +2 when it does come back. I mean, it seems like a pretty good card, especially if you're only using this card to go into like Isode or to go into like the Synchro monsters for the archetype. So I think this is a pretty solid card. Not like the most powerful card, but definitely a very efficient card, especially in numerical advantage. Anyways, next card is Flame Noble Knight Ogier. This is a Fire Warrior monster. Level 4, 1500 attack, 2000 defense. Both of the effects are once per turn, stack them in the same turn. First effect says if this card is normal or special summon, you can send one Fire Warrior monster or one Noble Arms card from your deck to the graveyard, except another copy of Ogier. Second effect says if this card is in your graveyard, you can target one Fire Warrior or one Warrior monster you control. Equip this card to that target you control. And then the third effect says a monster that is equipped with this card cannot be destroyed by card effects. So as I said before, a lot of these new Flame Noble Knight monsters can equip themselves from the graveyard, and then they basically will give the monsters that they're equipped to a nice little level of protection. I guess it kind of circumvents some of the old Noble Arm cards that basically do the same thing. I do like the fact that this can send the monster that we just talked about from the deck to the graveyard, and then you can banish it, and a couple of turns later you can kind of reborn it and then get it kind of set up. I'm not like the biggest expert on Noble Knight, so I don't know how many of the old Noble Knight cards you're going to use with the new support, but I think that this feels like a pretty solid card. I think that it has synergy with some of the monsters that we've already talked about, and I definitely like the fact that these new Noble Knight monsters, you can use them as synchro or link material and then immediately use them from the graveyard to empower the monsters that you have on field, some of your extra deck cards. Next up is Flame Noble Knight Oliver. This is a Fire Warrior monster. This is your first tuner for the deck. As I said before, there are some new synchro monsters. Level 4, 1000 attack, 1500 defense. Your first effect says you can send one Fire Warrior monster or equip spell from your hand or face up field to the graveyard. Special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, its level becomes 1. Second effect, if this card is in the graveyard, target a warrior monster, equip this card to that target. And then the third effect says your opponent cannot target the monster that you equipped with this effect with card effects. So this actually feels fairly easy to summon as well. I know a lot of you guys are looking and you're like, well, Cap, you gotta send one of your monsters monsters or an equip spell to the graveyard, but keep in mind, a lot of these monsters become equip spells from the graveyard for free, so it's basically like you can just equip one of these guys from the graveyard, then you can just give that card up to special summon this, and this will serve as your tuner. It does become level 1, which is interesting. I think that should be an optional effect, but unfortunately it's not. I think this card is supposed to just kind of be your textbook tuner for the archetype. I do like the fact that you don't have to commit your normal summon, and the fact that, again, it does kind of float from the graveyard if you go into a Synchro monster, or if you use this card in any way, like for a Link summon or something like that, then you can target one of your face-ups and that monster becomes, protected from targeting, which obviously is going to be very good. I wish the level effect was optional, but you can't have everything, I guess. Your final main deck monster is Noble Knight Maugis. This is a Fire Warrior monster, level 4, 1500 attack, 1000 defense. First effect says if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can shuffle 3 of your Fire Warrior monsters and or Noble Arms cards that are banished or in your graveyard into your deck, draw 1 card. Then obviously it has just the textbook equipped to a monster or a warrior monster. That monster cannot be destroyed by battle. Okay, so here is one of your recovery cards and probably one of your normal summons, because some of the cards we've talked about so far don't need your normal summon. This card does not have to actually hit the field to activate that first effect, where you're shuffling your Noble Arms and your Fire Warrior cards back to your deck to draw a card. I love drawing cards, always going to be good in Yu-Gi-Oh, but also it uses cards that are banished in the graveyard. It doesn't care. Usually it's one or the other. I like the fact that it can be any combination. This feels like a really good card, and then also not being able to be destroyed by battle. That's going to be very useful, especially when you start getting to the higher level Synchro monsters. So this definitely feels like a really good card. It would be nice if you could special summon this card, but definitely this feels like one of your normal summons, and recovery cards are always strong for archetypes. First off, our first Synchro is Flame Noble Knight Vanguard Roland. This is a Fire Warrior monster. It's a level 5 Synchro. It's also a tuner, which is super interesting. 2000 attack, 500 defense, completely generic, and your first and second effects are hard once per turn. First effect says if this card is Synchro summoned, you can activate this effect. During this turn's end phase, send 1 equipped spell from your deck to the graveyard, then add 1 warrior monster from your deck to your hand. Second effect, during the main phase, if this card is in your graveyard, and this is a quick effect. This can equip during either player's turn, so it's a quick effect. It says target 1 Fire Warrior monster you control. Equip this card to that target as an equipped card, and that monster gains 500 attack. That doesn't sound all that powerful. However, when it comes to the next Synchro, you'll understand why it actually is quite powerful. I think that this card is basically just supposed to be a stepping stone to go into the next Synchro monster. This card in a vacuum is really not that powerful, but when you combine it with the next Synchro monster that we're going to talk about, it becomes a lot more effective, a lot more efficient, and overall it feels like the card is just a lot better. The bigger Synchro monster is the Flame Noble Knight Emperor Charlie. This is a level 9, 3000 attack, Fire Warrior monster, 200 defense, completely generic monster as well. First and second hard once returns. First effect says if a monster on the field becomes equipped with an equip card, even during the damage step, you can destroy 1 card on the field. Second effect, during the end phase, you can equip 1 equip spell from your hand or graveyard to this card, then equip 1 Fire Warrior monster from your deck to this card as an equip card. With this effect, the equip monster gains 500 attack. So this card can progressively get stronger, but I'm loving the fact that this gives you non-targeting removal, which is obviously, as I've said a billion times on this channel, the epitome of removal and Yu-Gi-Oh! And if you have the level 5 monster in your graveyard, the Synchro we just talked about, you can equip it onto this guy during your opponent's turn and pop one of their cards. This card can also pop a card during the damage step, which is important because the boss monster of the structure deck, the God Phoenix Gearfried, that guy equips during the damage step. So that's the reason why they specified that. Overall, I absolutely love this card. It has great stats. It's non-targeting removal. If nothing else, its second effect is going to make sure that the first effect triggers in any given turn. And by the way, when you start equipping one of your warrior monsters from your deck to this card, you're going to get a nice level of protection. So you might be able to make this guy immune to battle destruction or immune to targeting or something like that. This feels like a legitimate Noble Knight boss monster. I'm not saying that this is like ISO level broken, but it feels better than like like the old Noble Knight Exceed and Synchro monsters. This feels like a legitimate win condition, especially if you can set this up with your Phoenix Gearfried. Anyways, let's move on to the spells and traps of the deck because we got something to cover. Your first Noble Arm equipped spell is Flame Noble Arm's Durendal. It's an equipped spell, first, second hard once per turn. First effect says, while this card is equipped to a monster, you can add one level 5 or lower Fire Warrior monster from your deck to your hand, then destroy this card. Second effect, if this card was sent to the graveyard because the monster it was equipped to was sent to the graveyard, you can target one level 5 or lower warrior monster in your graveyard, special summon it. You can't special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except warrior monsters. So this card is crazy good because basically you're either going to be getting a Rhoda effect or a warrior returning alive, and both of those cards are absolutely amazing. If you want to just get a quick search, you can equip this card to any of your monsters, blow the card up, and then you can Rhoda for any of your new Noble Knight monsters. Or if you happen to use that monster with this card equipped to it and you go into like Isode or you go into a Synchro monster, whatever, then you can just recover one of your monsters from the graveyard. So either way, I feel like this card is going to pay for itself. Next up is Flame Noble Arm's Hautclere. This is an equipped spell, and it says, while this card is equipped to a monster, you can target one face-up monster you control. This turn, you cannot declare attacks with other monsters. Also, that monster can make a second attack during each battle phase, then destroy this card. Second effect is, if this card is sent to the graveyard because the monster it was equipped to was sent to the graveyard, you can target one face-up monster on the field and destroy it. So this is really interesting what Konami is doing here with these new Noble Arms effects, and I'm talking specifically when it comes to like the second effect, because basically they're putting like bonus effects into the second effect of these cards. This card specifically, like if the monster that's equipped to it goes to the graveyard by any means, whether it's linked away or synchroed away, or your opponent just runs it over, you get to pop a monster on their field. Overall, I like that idea, but I wouldn't run this card specifically because I think like being able to attack twice with a monster in Noble Knights doesn't really feel all that rewarding. I don't think Noble Knights is a big damage like OTK deck or anything like that. So I think that you could probably run another one of the Noble Arms cards, the one I'm going to talk about next, and probably get similar results. That card is Flame Noble Arms Joyeuse, and your first and second are hard once per turn. The second effect is the same exact thing, so I'm not going to read it again. The first effect says, while this card is equipped to a monster, you can target one Fire Warrior monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand, then destroy this card. So this is basically just a warrior returning alive effect, which to me, over the span of a game, is probably going to be more effective than just some cheesy, you know, attack your opponent twice card, which is only going to work if you're like specifically OTKing them. This feels like it probably is just going to be more useful over the span of a game, especially because this can recover all of the monsters, even the boss monster, the God Phoenix, which is pretty good because that monster is absolutely nuts in a vacuum, and it's just a strong card. So I think that you can run this one, but I don't think I would run the previous one. Anyways, the final card is a trap, and this is Opheliant's Horn. This is a normal trap card with a hard once per turn. You activate one of these effects, so you either get to banish one equipped spell from your field or graveyard, destroy one card on the field that is not targeting, or you can destroy one Roland monster you control, then special summon up to 3 Fire Warrior monsters from your deck in defense position whose total levels equal 9 but negate their effects. Also, you cannot special summon until the end of the turn except warrior monsters. I really like the first effect of this card, kind of being like a little baby scrap dragon, I guess you could say. It being a disruptive trap because you can easily just blow up one of your equipped spells, and like if you're blowing up one of your equipped monsters, basically you can just get that monster back from the graveyard anyways, because all of these monsters can just equip from the graveyard for free every single turn. And then being able to pop a card on your opponent's side of the field, the fact that it's non-targeting kind of sells me on this card. If it would have been a targeting effect, I'd have been like, I'm not really messing with that. But non-targeting removal, especially having multiple of those type of effects in this deck, definitely feels appealing. Probably enough for me to run this card, maybe like one copy. It would be nice if this was a Noble Arms card, but then again, I guess Noble Arms are equipped cards and this is not an equipped spell. Anyways, what do you guys think of this new Noble Knight support and the direction that Konami is taking it in? I think if you combine it with the new boss monster and the other Noble Knight Renaud, I think it's actually pretty legitimate. This seems very interesting. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already, and turn on that notification bell for daily videos.